Welcome back to the Matter of Facts podcast on the Prepper Broadcasting Network. We talk prepping, guns, and politics every week on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. Go check out our content at mwfpodcast.com on Facebook or Instagram. You can support us via Patreon or by checking out our affiliate partners. I'm your host, Phil Rabalais. Andrew and Nick are on the other side of the mic, and here's your show. And welcome back to Matter of Facts podcast. I'm Phil, this is Nick, and we have just a couple of topics after a little bit of admin work.
Mm-hmm.
And no effing around. This is going to be a professional show this time.
I will not touch the buttons.
I was waiting to see how long Nick was going to hold that smirk he was trying to hold back.
Last time it was me hitting the buttons. That was a problem.
Well, it's not you hitting the buttons. It's when we both try to hit the same button at the same time that things go off the rails.
Correct.
Okay. So, patrons, if you are a patron, then you already know the deal. And if you're not a patron, you should consider it. For $1 a month, you can contribute to the delinquency of not minors, but not majors either, but our delinquency. That's definitely within bounds.
That does make sense. Yeah.
And I'm sure the patrons are responsible for more than a few fiscally irresponsible decisions over the years.
Well, I mean, the Secret Santa gift exchange is one of the big reasons why I eBayed a taper attachment for my lathe back there so that I can make, instead of linear cannon profiles, I can make a nice smooth tapered profile.
Yeah, Nick has started a Secret Santa arms race with the patrons.
Yes.
And unabashedly so, too. He completely screwed up the curve on that because everybody else is like...
I stayed within the budget. It just so happens that I have access to cheap and or free materials.
You might have adhered to the letter of the law, but you certainly didn't follow the spirit of it.
Technically correct is the best kind of correct, Phil.
But yes, the patrons are responsible for malfeasance and questionable life decisions. And the Brandon family is responsible for the merch at the Southern Gals. So that's shirts, koozies. I floated the idea of, stocking spiked cod pieces, but I was told that was probably going to be a no-go.
I mean, it would sell. Maybe not to our audience, but it would sell.
I question that. I think some people in our audience would actually go for that, to be perfectly honest. I mean, you'd sell at least 2 of them.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, me and Eddie.
Well, I mean, if the hosts are buying them.
Would have to. The hosts are buying. How do you think this works? Oh, God, my wife and your wife are in the chat, so this is...
They are.
We're going to have to behave ourselves.
Mrs. Matter of Facts is correct, though. The Secret Santa gift exchange is coming up. If you guys have not emailed, Stuart, if you've not emailed Stuart in the Patreon chat, has sent you guys a link, hit him up, let him know whether you're in or out. If he doesn't hear from you, he might assume either way. It's hard to say sometimes.
If you don't respond to him, you're totally at his mercy, and at his age, he doesn't have much.
No. And he has a very long memory, so he will probably remember where you are.
Yeah. Your wife's asking about hats. I don't think we have hats.
I like hats. Well, we did talk to him about hats, and they said that they were kind of working on that idea. Yeah. So we'll see. I like me a nice hat, a nice baseball cap.
This is true, but I don't think hats are on the menu for right this moment.
I mean, I could just get you to send me another patch and then get a Velcro front hat and put the patch on the hat.
I mean, yeah, you could have asked me for 5 of them when we saw each other a few months ago. And
I didn't think about it at the time. We'll get it. We'll deal with it later. Maybe next summer camp. I'll remember.
Maybe that'll be your Secret Santa gift.
Oh, there you go. That'd be great. I'll put those patches on everything.
Cypress Survivalists. That's the nonprofit my family started to try to spread the good word of preparedness in the local community. We're actually spinning up for a family camping trip in 2 weeks, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been instructed by the other members of the board that there should be some kind of educational component involved. So I'm kind of thinking I might have to bring the man pack out to that.
Could be fun.
Well, the man
could
pack,
be a good way to test it with multiple users too.
well, the man pack, the 30-foot mast, I could put it into repeater mode. I can tell you conclusively there are no other registered GMRS repeaters within miles of that place. So,
it's a perfect test.
Yeah, should be able to stand it up on whatever repeater frequency I want, wide open, no tones or anything, and everybody dial into it, just play with it, see how it works.
Yeah, that actually sounds like a lot of fun. You guys you can actually have it be useful as well as have it be educational.
Gilrab, we could do all sorts of things during the camping trip.
That's true.
Yes, I'm going to bring a lawn chair and a bottle of booze and a box of cigars, and that's going to be like, a substantial portion of my camping trip, like most camping trips are.
If you cannot smoke a cigar while you're teaching, are you really teaching?
You raise a good point. Mm-hmm. And last but not least, and then we're done with admin work. Code MOF at Disaster Coffee gets you a couple % off your order. It's good for everything in the store. I recently ordered 2 more boxes of we can't call them K-Cups because copyright and all that nonsense. Single-use coffee pods that are compatible with your common coffee makers. I'm using the air quotes for the audio listeners. I bought 2 boxes with the intention of donating them to my wife's school, and come to find out they don't have a Keurig there, so instead they're going to have to come to my office and get consumed.
Oh, whoops.
Whoops. Good thing I bought the 2 flavors I like the best.
I mean, you're not going to buy bad flavors of coffee. Why would you buy bad flavors of coffee?
Well, and I will say that at the Disaster store, there's a few roasts that are not like my personal cup of tea, but they're not bad. Mm-hmm.
Sure, that's fair.
Have you ever had any Disaster coffee? I'm going to put you on the spot.
I really need to get some, but I just forgot to cancel the 5 pounds of coffee that just auto shipped to my house.
You mean you had like a bag of like bunker beans that was on are you talking about bunker beans or what?
No. I've got Black Rifle Coffee on auto ship to send me 5 pounds of coffee every 3 months. I like their just black coffee. It's good. It's good. I like their just black coffee. I think it's good. We tried their pumpkin spice coffee. That was dog shit. That tasted horrible. It was not good. Even my wife was not a fan of that, and she likes pumpkin spice coffee. I mean, to me, it just tasted like bad coffee. I don't know. I will have to get some of the Disaster coffee, though. I keep forgetting to cancel that stupid fucking auto ship, and I, for one, will not leave coffee undrank that shows up at my house. So,
well, I mean that's just responsible.
I know
it's cold outside. Bring it in, get it warm.
Exactly. You can't leave it out in the cold or in the basement too long.
But yes, MOF at Disaster Coffee, and if you want a coffee recommendation, I don't know, just reach out to me, and I will try to figure out what your taste profile is. My personal, I guess I really should push like Dark Humor because that is the Matter of Fact's official blend. But honestly, my taste in coffee has slid a little bit. I am more in like the medium dark range these days. I really like Bear Blend.
Oh, okay.
It's not quite as smoky as Dark Humor. Dark Humor is still absolute peak if you like a dark roast or a French roast. But
I don't actually know what kind of roast I like.
What do you normally drink?
Well, the Black Rifle Coffee just black, or Folgers Red Can that's at work.
So Folgers Red Can is like the basic bitch medium, like right down the middle.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Have you ever had a breakfast blend?
Yes.
Did you like that better or not better?
I thought it was good. I've only ever had them at like Christmas, for dessert coffee kind of thing.
Breakfast blend for dessert.
Okay, look, my family are not really coffee people, so the fact that they had coffee at all, I considered a win.
That's fair. That's fair. But
yeah, so
breakfast blend is usually called breakfast blend because it's a lighter roast, and the lighter you roast, the more caffeine. Hence, breakfast blend. Wake up in the morning with all the caffeine.
That makes sense.
typically the darker you roast, you lose some of your caffeine. You
Yeah, but you
lose
get more flavors out of it.
not exactly. See, here's okay. You've done it
To a
now.
point, I'm sure.
Coffee autism. So the
That's
thing of
fine.
it is
I like
that
coffee.
everywhere from a light roast to a dark roast, you have flavors. What happens in where a lot of people have this conception in their head that like you get more flavor or at the darker you roast is because most people have been conditioned, I think culturally, to prefer a bolder coffee, and their
Okay.
taste buds just kind of interpret it as, oh, this is really weak when they don't taste what they're expecting to taste. Like if you grow up drinking a lot of really dark, bold coffee, a lot of dark roast, a lot of medium dark roast, if you drink light roast, it's going to taste almost like tea because you're not tasting the smoky, roasty flavors you get out of dark roast.
I think probably what I'll have to do is just buy all three and drink them until I'm happy.
I mean, honestly, what I recommend to everybody is that when you're just getting away from like your off the shelf coffee, I recommend you explore a couple of different roasts within one roaster, and then like just try them. Now, some people are very coffee agnostic where they don't care, like they don't have a preference. Coffee is coffee, and that's fine.
Right.
I've drank a lot of coffee and I know exactly what I like. And I roast, like when I roast coffee every week or twice a week, I roast exactly the way I like it because that's how I like it. But I have roasted those same beans everywhere from, I've roasted literally as light as you can get away with without it making your stomach hurt.
Right.
All the way to like on the verge of it being burnt.
Sure.
I've roasted everywhere.
You've got the luxury to experiment with it because you roast your own.
Yeah, and the flavors change dramatically over that range. So that's why I tell everybody like you have to try a lot of different coffees to really find like the one. And if you're not that much of a coffee person, then you just drink coffee and enjoy it for what it is.
That's probably why I stuck with like a medium roast, because my wife will she'll zhuzh them up with her creamers and flavorings and all that stuff, and then
yes,
we should do a coffee episode.
I do need to do a coffee episode. I threatened Nick
did
with
promise Phil a coffee episode.
Y'all just have to understand that like the spectrum is a thing, and I'm definitely on it someplace. And
fortunately, we benefit from that when Phil comes to camp and makes us coffee.
Yeah. And I mean, I like coffee better than most people, to be fair. So there's that. But anyway, topics. Nick wanted to talk about Halloween safety. And
actually, it came up in the Patreon chat.
Oh, it must come up in the Patreon chat while I was out walking with my wife, and that's why I didn't see it.
Yeah, one of our patrons brought up an interesting conundrum or debate, I guess he's having with his wife regarding safety, especially around this time of year. Phil, are you familiar with 80s slasher movies?
Fairly.
Okay. Pick the top 3 ways people get killed. Let's see if you can get what I'm going for here. Top three situations where the people end up getting
slasher
murdered.
Movies, right?
Yeah.
They go into a dark room or a basement by themselves.
Right. So going somewhere by yourself.
They're in the woods off the beaten path.
Off the path in the woods by themselves.
Third one. I don't know. I can go a lot of different directions with that because I've seen a lot of old slasher movies.
You know what one of the most common first murder scenes in those old slasher movies is? If it's not the person going in the dark by themselves, shower. In the shower,
Psycho.
Spooky guy behind. Yeah, Psycho. And all the Psycho spin-off shots like that. So, it came up in the Patreon chat. Shower guns.
Guy that comments that's a different episode.
That's true. That's only if you're a teen, though. If you're a teen having
premarital relationships,
premarital relations, you will probably die. So it's best to be armed then too. But specifically, what came up in the Patreon chat was the idea of shower guns.
I knew it was only a matter of time before we wound up here.
Look, personally, especially this time of year, and let's be honest, most slasher flicks happen in or around this time of year. We all take showers. Shower gun makes sense. I mean, they make these nice waterproof cases. You can mount suction cups on them. You can mount that thing right below the shower head. What do you think? Are you pro or anti shower gun, Phil?
I'm not anti shower gun because America and you freedom and free men don't ask permission and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that rather than having a shower gun, we should discuss being in committed relationships and having an on-hand fire team to guard you while you shower.
Yeah, I mean, but like usually I get home from work covered in coolant and hydraulic oil. My wife's still at work taking a shower.
You have a dog.
That dog is not a guard dog.
That dog barks at ghosts.
She does. She will bark at everything, but she won't do anything about it other than barking.
She will alert you that someone is in your house inappropriately.
Sure. And what am I going to do if they don't have a gun in the shower? Am I just going to, run out naked and scare the people away? That's not how that happens.
My wife just said she'll allow it once we've redone the bathroom.
Great. Phil, when do you... So what are we doing?
We're not.
Tile, walk-in shower?
We're not.
What are we talking about here? I mean, it only took me like 6 months to do mine.
Yes, you know how to rebuild a bathroom. I don't.
It's not that hard.
Yeah, the other problem is that I refuse to sink an inordinate amount of money into this house, knowing that my intention is not to be here within like 5 or 6 years.
Okay, that's fair.
My issue is that I will not spend money on the house if I'm not going to recoup the investment. So like maintenance stuff that needs to be fixed, fine. But before I'm going to spend like 20 grand on a bathroom just to get 20 grand back on the cost of the house, I'd rather have that 20 grand sitting in an interest-bearing account.
That's fair. Yeah, especially if I know you've talked about before, you want to build a house to suit. So that costs a lot, actually.
And Gilly and I were...
Plus you got to buy the land beforehand.
Gilly and I were actually talking about the other day because... I mean, with the cost of new construction and with as crappy as new construction homes seem to be right now, honestly, what I floated by her was I was like, why don't we look at like rural developments where it's a property and a house, and the house probably going to need some work. It's probably going to need some updates. It's probably going to need the systems redone, the electrical and the plumbing and everything. Right. But the house is standing and it's old, and it was built at a time when people were expected that their houses were going to outlive them.
All right. Phil, have you ever rehabbed an old house?
No.
Did I ever tell you what I found inside my kitchen walls on my first house?
Well, it wasn't cocaine and handing $100 bills, or I think we'd be having a much different
discussion. If it
discussion.
was, this would be a different podcast. No, what it was a 4-foot wide section of the kitchen walls where they clearly had run out of studs. And they had used random cutoffs pieced together to make up the wall.
Yes, but you could find that exact same feature in a house built in the 90s or the 2000s. God, you could have that right now.
That's exactly my point. You will find that in any house. Old houses seem better because the ones that were super shitty either burned down, collapsed, or sank into the swamp. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Gillian said we'll be paying others to do it.
You say that until you see the quotes.
Yeah. Let's get there and see if the world hasn't collapsed by then.
Yeah, I'm just saying that not all old houses are better than modern construction.
Nick, would you like to comment?
Okay, it is entertaining. I would not call remodeling a house
Type 2 fun?
It is Type 2 fun. Yeah, it's definitely not Type 1 fun because I have a 312 attic. And for those of you who know what that is, the peak of my roof is considerably shorter than I am. And it stays very, very small all the way out to the eaves. And a lot of bathrooms are on an outside wall. And if you need to put a bathroom vent in, you have to fit a person my size. And Phil, I'm not a small guy, right?
No, you're decidedly average to above average.
Yeah, I had to drop my chest down in between the ceiling joists in order to scoot far enough out towards the eaves to hook up my bathroom vent because the house was built in the 60s and they didn't put bathroom vents in, they put windows in. It gets cold here in the winter. Having a window open to get the moisture out of my bathroom in the winter is a terrible idea in February. It's terrible. Guy that comments says attic gun. I am in favor of attic guns. Check your attic. There's probably a Type 99 up there. I mean, that seems to be what everybody finds in the attic.
Great googly moogly. So we started shower guns and we ended up at attic guns.
Well, I'm just saying, you see, anytime you're in a small dark room by yourself, attics are usually dark and uncomfortable. Basements dark and uncomfortable. I have a gun in all of them.
You know that I've never in my life lived in a place that had a basement.
Well, if you find yourself in a basement in Louisiana, Phil, you're probably in a horror movie and trapped in some kind of alternate realm. So you should probably bring a gun with you.
Yeah.
I mean, what with your water table?
Yeah, I mean, literally, I could dig a hole as tall as I am and hit water in some places around here.
Oh, I believe that. You can do that actually around me too. There's some sand and gravel basins left over from the glaciers that the water table's only like 4 feet down.
Didn't I tell you what our height above sea level is like right here at my house?
Mm-hmm.
It's
less than the difference between the hill my house is on and the bottom of the valley in my backyard.
21 feet above sea level. Sounds crazy to anybody that's not from around here, but like Raggle Fraggle lives not down here, but down here, and he understands that like in this area, 21 feet above sea level is practically on top of a mountain.
Well, I mean, where you are, you're in a coastal area. It's going to be lower lying unless, it's like the cliffs of Dover or something crazy like that.
Yeah, also a swamp.
True. Well, France is kind of swampy in that no one wants to be there. So it made sense why the French would go to Louisiana, is what I'm saying. No one also wants to be in Louisiana.
Man, don't talk too rough about my home.
Look, I will talk terrible about my home. I'm going to do the same.
Well, it's because Chicago's a hellhole.
I'm not in Chicago.
The entire state is Chicago.
70 or 80 miles.
The entire state of Illinois is Chicago.
Limits. It's really not. In fact, if you go like 45 minutes in any direction from Chicago, it's nothing like Chicago.
And yet, you are all cucked by that fat bastard in the governor's mansion.
Yeah. We're working on that. Have you heard of the New Illinois movement? They want to make a whole new Illinois. And just basically leave Chicago on its own.
I feel like
every
counties. State wants to do that.
Well, let's be realistic here. Why? Because the way the system is currently set up with state representation, the major population centers run the state. And that they are run for the benefit exclusively of the major population centers. Like right now, let's see, it was 25 new taxes have been instituted in Illinois just this legislative session, and there's 15 more that are on the docket, all of which to pay for Chicago's falling apart and really mismanaged public transit system for the most part.
My wife is telling me to be nice, that this entire state is not New Orleans. She's the nice one in the relationship. Guy that comments is right on the money, though. Tyranny by the majority.
It is, unfortunately. But, that is why the gerrymandering problem in Illinois is one of the worst in the nation.
Yeah, I'd actually heard that apparently that trial, that case is getting ready to go to trial.
It is. And, what's interesting, Phil, there's one little representative area in Illinois that actually extends 2/3 of the length of the state from its southernmost
through a narrow little strip, right?
Yeah. Just to hit one little section of town.
See, this is one of those moments, and this was not a topic, but now it's a topic.
It is, because our next topic is also very political.
This is one of those moments in time where, like, I really have to scratch my head at the group of people who are trying to defend this obvious gerrymandering to the literal death, when the crux of the court case is basically stating that you cannot take into account racial demographics as a component of, like, doing this districting, which sounds like the most common sense thing on earth to me, but they had to do the same damn thing with the college admissions, and people scream bloody murder about that for freaking years since. So it's just
because they think it's useful to them.
But
that's why.
Remember the conversation we had when we talked about rules for radicals? My problem is that because I think the way I do rationally, I have this built-in blind spot where I expect other people to think rationally. And then when they don't, it confuses me.
You do. Yeah. It's a problem. And the more you attempt to be a rational actor, the more it upsets the irrational actors. That's what's always going to happen.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, reality is pretty brutal in that if you ignore it for too long, it will catch up with you and reality will win. Physics pretty much always wins. Nature always wins.
I guess it's just frustrating me because, like, I intrinsically think to myself that, like, racism is bad even when it benefits someone.
Well, racism always benefits someone. It's always benefiting the person that is using it.
But my point is, it's always bad.
Yes.
And yet,
it absolutely is.
And yet, some version of it's being defended as a justification to prolong these policies. And it just it kind of makes me like Forrest Whitaker at people.
Well, it's part of postmodernism's attempt to bring down the power structures that existed in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. That's really what it is. And one of the things they want to do is break up the nuclear family and break up communities in order to drive conflict. Because when people are in conflict and scared, they tend to vote more power to whoever's in charge.
So now we have to have a coffee episode and a postmodernist episode.
No, you don't want to do that.
Why?
Postmodernism will just make you upset. Coffee makes you happy. I mean, we could do coffee and postmodernism at the same time.
Or you could talk to me about postmodernism and I could be drunk for that episode.
There are so many people that are more intelligent and educated than me that can talk to you about that. I will try to get someone on as a guest for that.
You know what? I wholeheartedly support that. But since you've used the word on 3 separate podcasts, now I want to know more about it.
Oh, all right. I'll get you some literature. It's gonna hurt. You're gonna hate it. You're gonna hate every bit of it.
I mean, okay. Added to the list of things that I have learned, Nick, that aggravate the crap out of me.
All right.
Communism, socialism, feminism, all those things irk the crap out of me. Just add this to the list. Why not?
Got the comments. Pretty good point here. The violent muggings spike in LA County, and lo and behold, the anti-gun people want easier concealed carry. They were also very upset during COVID when they couldn't walk into a gun store and get a gun like all their politicians told them they could.
Can I just say?
That 2-week waiting period in California was looking pretty dog shit.
Can I just say? So between me and the audience, and Nick, you probably know this already. Most of the patrons know. I really do try to be a good person. Like, I screw it up constantly, but I really, really do try. Like, I wake up some days and think to myself, today I am not going to be the whole problem. I am not going to choose violence. I'm going to go to work and be happy and be pleasant and professional. And I am going to be the bigger person today. And then I have days where I decide, nope, today I'm going to be the bigger asshole today. I'm going to choose violence. I'm going to be the entire problem all by myself. I'm going to be spiteful and mean-spirited and snarky and sarcastic, and I'm going to find every open wound I can to rub salt into it.
Be the reason HR changes the manual.
And when I heard about all these people in California, all these places with waiting periods, losing their crap because they finally realized that their politicians lied to them and like, what do you mean I have to wait? What do you mean I can't buy a gun? I have to go through a background check? Once they found out all those things, Phil woke up and chose violence that day, and I was giggling like a lunatic. There was no being the bigger person at that moment.
Oh God,
There was
we told you this was a problem.
There was no amount of like, oh yeah, that sucks, dude. Learn from this experience. We'll do what we can to get you taken care of. We got to work. We got to change the laws. There was none of that. There was nothing but gloating and antagonizing for at least a week. I was the most unhinged jackass on the internet for that week. Yeah. Do I regret it? Not even a little bit.
No, because the only way they're going to learn is if they're hit in the face by the reality of the laws that exist and the realities of the situation as it is.
Guy that comments, I always wonder what I'd be like if I went full evil genius. I don't know that I'd say evil genius, but I definitely chose violence that whole week. Every time on every social media platform, anybody would say anything, I was there to be a part of the dog pile.
I had 4 people in real life come up to me and ask me how quick I could get them a gun. And I said, do you have a FOID card? What's a FOID card? And I said, well, you're in for a 90-day to 6-month wait. So here's the application. Fill it out and call me when it comes in. And then I'll take you to the gun store and help you buy a gun. I'll walk you through the whole process, but 3 to 9 months. It's how long you're going to wait minimum because you haven't even got your permission slip yet. As much as I hate the FOID card system.
Yeah.
But
you handled
some
that
of them
with more
directly voted for it.
You handled that with more grace than I think I would have managed.
Well, to be fair, several of them were family members. And
oh, Nick. That's precious. You think that would have been a deterrent to me.
I know, but they were family members I actually like. So it's like, well, this is the reality of the situation at hand. Here's what you got. The one coworker of mine that is no longer working with us, he's a good dude, but very much a traditional union leftist. And I told him, I was like, look, you voted for this. You've been voting for this your entire life, man. I can't help you here. You did this to us. So,
and these are all the reasons.
If you want to buy a gun illegally, hit up one of the gangbangers because I'm not doing that.
These are all the reasons why Nick has more people on this earth that will talk to him than I do.
Well, some of them I do pay for services.
The audio audience like cannot see the look that was just on your face.
yeah, that's true. I mean, I can be diplomatic at times, probably more so than you.
Can you look me in the eye when you say that?
I can actually be diplomatic. You did it again.
You keep looking away.
I do, because I can't.
Your wife is watching this. She will keep you honest.
Oh, I know. I can be a colossal asshole at times. It's what are you going to do about it? It's too much fun. But no, they were actually people that I liked. So I was attempting to teach them through the process, and actually talk them through what's going on.
Jeff Jag is right. Isn't part of rules for radicals forcing them to live up to their standards
and forcing them to comply with the bullshit that they asked for?
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, off the rails, back on the rails, 33 minutes in, and we're one topic remaining.
It's fine.
And if we haven't already pissed off a substantial portion of the audience, let's just dive straight into SNAP and EBT going away.
That's true. My wife would tell me for years to be nice and to use kind words. And I always said no as I walked out the door.
My wife doesn't try that on me. It sounds like something she would say to her students. But my wife does like have to give me a pre-flight talk before we go meet certain family members. And he has for years.
I think mine has given up on the pre-flight talk on going to meet family members. I just sort of do what I feel like.
My wife tells me, make good choices.
Make good choices. Make fun choices.
No, fun choices are not always good choices, Nick.
Fun choices are great.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, God.
Grocery store pep talk. So before we get this...
I also hate the grocery store.
Before we get to SNAP and EBT. So
it is grocery related.
Oh no, this is definitely grocery stores, and Hopefully, this doesn't become the situation in the near future. But she's just throwing stuff at me that we have to talk about. If you're not in this live chat tonight, you really should, because there's like 11 of y'all watching this, and me and Nick's wives are like actively stoking the fire.
Yeah, my wife is correct. I am no longer allowed to go to a grocery store unaccompanied.
So my problem is, I was raised in such a way as to believe that like you have a built-in social obligation, social contract, right?
Sure,
not to inconvenience and piss off your fellow man by impeding their forward motion. So like where I come from, if there's like a walkway and you need to stop for some reason, like you need to read
to the side,
go to the side, move your buggy over to the side. Don't stand there in the middle of the aisle jamming it up for everybody else, picking your crack in your nose and everything else,
or having a conversation with your high school roommate or whatever for 15 fucking minutes in front of the goddamn pasta.
Yes, those two things aggravate the crap out of me. And Phil, left to his own devices, will loudly bellow out, "Excuse me," like with the intention of startling them and communicating loudly and proudly. I want them to get the hell out of everybody else's way in addition to mine, because I'm trying to do things here. So now my wife, after witnessing this behavior multiple times, will literally stop in the parking lot before she allows me to go in and say, "We are not rushing and we are not running people over with the buggy."
Well, it's insane. I got the same theory of the protesters standing in the middle of the highway.
If you keep going, they'll move.
Don't stand in the middle of the road. Don't stand in the middle of the road. You're not a car.
Yeah, but I have to take a deep breath and control my chill. And yes, Gillian is right. She did tell me this past April that I was off my leash and I was now free to say whatever's on my mind to certain members of her
and the
family.
holiday season's coming up too.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's gonna be great.
No. I had a moment at her grandfather's funeral where, quite obviously, based on people's reaction, there was a not inconsequential number of her family that seemed to be under the impression that I was some kind of a pushover, because I'm usually very quiet and, like I try not to start crap with people and I just keep my peace. And that particular day, they tripped over my last nerve, and I pretty well let every last one of them know what I was thinking, what I thought of them, the behavior that I thought that I was demanding they show towards my wife from now on. I let it all out.
That's good. That needs to be done. That needs to be done.
Yes. Well, it seems to have had an impact, because several members of her family haven't called her or bothered her since. So apparently I got what I wanted.
I would consider that a win. Having heard some of the backstory, I would consider that a win.
Yeah. Well, it makes me happy and it doesn't stress her out. So win-win.
Perfect. That is a win.
Now, SNAP and EBT going away. So for anybody that hasn't been around lately, apparently the EBT funds are
see, being assertive and telling your wife's family off is sexy.
Well, to be fair, I'd wanted to do that basically since we met.
I should have done it earlier. She's giving you retroactive permission too. So
well, yes, but I didn't get the retroactive permission until we'd known each other for 20 years.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying you probably would have gotten forgiven.
21-year-old Gillian.
She has the combination to your gun safe, doesn't she?
Yes.
Okay, then.
21-year-old Gillian was not as forgiving as 41-year-old Gillian is.
Yeah, I was going to say, do not overestimate that.
No, I'm having to do the math, because like I just turned 43 and she's a year and some months younger than me.
Yeah, that is accurate. Like not very long into me and my wife dating, I told her mom off pretty good in front of her whole family.
I mean, I told my mother-in-law off, and my wife made me apologize to her.
I was never requested to apologize.
No, I was.
And I wouldn't have.
I was directed. So, live and learn.
Truth.
But anyway.
I learned I can get away with it.
And now the wheels have come off the bus.
They have. But, Another reason why I wanted to throw the Halloween safety thing out there was because of the snap and EBT going away. We joke around a little bit sometimes. I think shower guns. I don't actually keep a gun in the shower. It's outside the shower. Serial killer can get me before I get to it. Whatever. But there has been a lot of things posted on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, some even in my local Facebook groups about people that once SNAP and EBT stop being funded, they're going to get theirs and they're going to take it from you because you owe them. Society owes them. And they, in their words, are not getting a job and they will not be working, and you will continue to pay for everything they desire.
Yeah, there is that.
Mm-hmm.
And if the threat of potential like violent altercation and home and like property crimes and home break-ins isn't enough to like concern you, like the thing that I'm a little bit concerned about at this point is not just the potential for poor behavior, because like where I live, the likelihood of people breaking into people's homes and looting grocery stores is minimal. I live
Mm-hmm.
in a fairly affluent town. It's very high cost of living. It's financially crippling to live here. My wife and I manage it because we keep our debt under control. But low crime rate, great schools. Like there's good reasons to stay here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And among them is the fact that St. Tammany Parish sheriffs do not freaking play with anybody. And if you do dumb stuff in this parish, you are going to prison, not to jail, not getting
As
let
it
off
should
by
be.
the DA. You're going to freaking prison. This place
As
loves
it
to
should
put
be.
people
We
in
have
prison.
police and laws for a reason.
Yeah. And like you and I were talking about the other day, not only do we have that reputation of if you do dumb stuff here, you go to prison, but this parish also has one of the highest per capita gun ownership and gets a weapons permit in the
Nice.
state. So if you do dumb stuff here,
That's
you
good.
might not go to prison. You might go to a pine box.
True.
So I'm not as immediately concerned that like we're going to get rolled up in the grocery store. But I did tell my wife, I'm like, we probably need to plan on going grocery shopping like some other day other than Saturday on November the 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Or we need to go very early in the morning, very late in the evening. Like we don't need to be in the store during peak hours with high traffic. We need to modify our behavior a little bit just to minimize risk.
You familiar with the fact that my state got rid of bail for everything but some of the pretty extreme violent crimes?
I had heard that, yes. It sounds like a phenomenally dumb idea.
Instead, they just let you out on your own recognizance after 24 hours or whenever your hearing is.
Sounds like a really bad idea.
It is a really bad idea. Crime has increased because of it.
Who'd have thought?
Largely property crime and shoplifting. I think that this is going to just increase it because a lot of the same demographic, judging by their behavior on social media and their claims that they are going to rob you at the grocery store or going to rob the grocery store, I would have to imagine they are probably the same group of people that are currently robbing whoever when they feel the need or desire to.
This kind of harkens back to the conversation I had about Hurricane Katrina years ago, because like literally as soon as the hurricane even begun to pass and the wind slacked off the least little bit before the levees broke, you already had property crimes and drug deals and gun, and shootings all up and down the parts of New Orleans where those crimes always happen every day anyway, because there's some portion of society that they are spring loaded to the I'm going to do hood rat stuff because that's just how they
as soon
get
as you can get away with it. Yeah. Well, if you think you're going to have a higher chance of getting away with a crime, you're going to do it then than when you have a lower chance of getting away with it. Why do you think most drive-by shootings happen in the very early morning or very late evening? You're more likely to be able to get away and hide and get away with it.
And in this case, I question whether or not we're going to see like this big upswing on November the 1st, or if it like ratchets up over time. But like, I'm not as spun up on like the spending and the storage habits of people who rely on SNAP and EBT for their food. Like, I don't know what that looks like. In other words, like if on November the 1st, their cupboards are bare and they got to go get food that day and they were waiting for the car to get refilled, or if ostensibly they would have a little bit, lingering around, and maybe the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth on the receding days, something starts
So
to
when I
happen.
was working in the grocery store in high school, one of my jobs in high school was working at a grocery store, and you knew who was on SNAP and who was on EBT. It was the same people all the time. A local small town grocery store. You get to know the people. You can kind of tell who it is when they're coming and going. And one thing I did notice with the people that were on those programs was the day that money hit their card, they were in the store. The day that money hit their card. Now, whether that is because that just got to be when they could do it. So you know how, like, I'm sure your family has about every this many days we go to the store because we're out of X, Y, or Z, whatever, coffee, creamer.
I mean,
whatever. For us, it's every 2 weeks.
My family goes to the store every week, but that's because every week we're restocking up to a certain level, so that
Sure,
if that's the last time we go to the grocery store, we started up, stocked up, and we're going to whittle things down over time. But I understand your point. It's kind of like probably a similar trend to people that are on fixed income Social Security.
exactly.
End of the month, beginning of the month, when all the Social Security funds come through, that's their time to like go get groceries, go get gas, go get needs met. Mm-hmm. But it makes me ask the question of, is that a Pavlovian response? Like, I got the money, therefore I can go grocery shopping, or is it almost like a not a cultural, but like a almost like an unintentional programming thing where it's like, because November the 1st is when I get my money, that's the day I go grocery shopping. You know what I'm saying? Like, in other words,
I think it's a little bit of both. Say you're unemployed for a couple of months and it takes a month to get on to one of these programs. All right, great. You haven't had any income coming in for a month. You've been really cutting back on your expenses, as you should when you have no income coming in. So say the first of the month rolls around. Okay, you finally got those credits to go to the store to get the groceries. You're going to go pretty close to when those benefits hit. So a little bit of it trained, probably a lot of it probably necessity, because I mean, you can't spend the money when it's not there. And I think some of it just gets to be habitual. Does that make sense?
No, it does. It's a chicken and egg kind of problem,
I think for some people it starts at had to go on this date, and then
it turns into the tail wagging the dog.
It's have to go on this date. Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Jeff brings up an interesting point. Is it not cultural at this point? Many of them have been on welfare generationally. That is correct. I think at a certain point, if your mom and her mom and dad or whoever else up the line has no history of getting a job, it's going to be a lot harder for you to go out and get that job and to feel the motivation to do that, especially because once you're on those programs, it is somewhat hard to get off of them because the benefits on them are better than the base level entry jobs in a lot of places.
So I'm looking at a comment Raggle Fraggle threw up.
Mm-hmm.
He was asking what's the upper limit for SNAP and EBT. Unemployment for Louisiana, if I remember right, is $470 a week. I'll take your word on that. It's been a very long time since I've been on unemployment.
Raggle, I don't know about down there, but I know up here where I'm at in Illinois, it's a percentage of your prior income. So like if I lost my job now, I think it's like 60 to 70%, something like that.
For your unemployment or SNAP?
For unemployment.
Okay. Same here, but there's still a cap on
unemployment, it. Yeah. I believe there is a cap on it, but it's usually, if you're below the cap, it's prorated to like 60% of your previous monthly income.
Yeah, but he's asking about the caps. So the cap for Louisiana SNAP benefits for a single person household, it's $298 a month. And it goes up to a maximum of $994 a month for a 4-person household. So it scales roughly like $250 to $250 per person, basically.
Now I don't know about costs for groceries down by you, obviously, because I've never grocery shopped down there, but gosh, That could feed me.
Um, so our monthly grocery budget is 600 a month, and we're not. I mean, we're buying meat, butter, eggs, steak.
Right.
Like we don't buy cheap junk because you and I've had this conversation.
Oh yeah,
Food is medicine,
it
and
is.
if you put bad shit into your body, you get bad outcomes. So
Same thing as engine oil. Put crap in, you get crap
so
out.
I continue to tell my family like we will find places to cut money that does not
Hmm.
involve eating crappy food.
Yeah.
And 600 a month feeds the three of us easily.
Yeah.
Matter of
I
fact,
think I want to say if you took out like hair care, household goods, stuff like that, just the food, I would bet we were closer to probably 400 to 450 a month, something like that. So not a huge difference. Not a huge difference between the two areas.
yeah. But I mean, therein lies the thing of it with SNAP and EBT not being funded. Like I'm of two minds about this. My daughter and I were having a conversation just the other day. We were batting around different like political positions, social positions, and
Good.
she's 13. But quite frankly, I've started talking to her about
Hey,
most of the stuff when she was much younger because
the fact that she's willing to have the discussion at that age is an excellent sign.
yeah, and I'll be honest, she and I do not agree on a lot of things, and that's fine. All I've ever told her is, I'm like,
Good.
I don't want you to parrot what I tell you. I want you to think and figure it out for yourself. Because if I teach you how to think, you'll learn what to think.
Oh, absolutely. Rago brings up an excellent point, and I did see this a lot when I worked in the grocery store. A lot of what is purchased on Snap and EBT is garbage of the highest degree. I could not agree more. It was a pretty rare individual that was walking out of the grocery store that their cart wasn't mostly soda and junk food.
Yeah, which drives me freaking crazy when you consider what
It
the
was
overlap is between people that are on SNAP EBT and people that are on Medicaid.
Yeah, that are obese or very unhealthy, also smoking, a lot of times alcoholics.
And this is this
Um,
is the reason why every time I see one of these reels pop up on social media where somebody is flipping their freaking lid, screaming, yelling about how their state doesn't let them spend SNAP EBT on sugary drinks or snacks because my kids deserve it. I'm just like, if your kids are, if the taxpayers have to be responsible for making sure that you and your kids don't starve, we can debate whether or not society should do that. That's a debate.
yeah.
But I'm not willing to enter into the debate where I say that if I have to give you money to feed your kids, and that's what these programs are, like you can you
Hmm.
can you can mental gymnastics your way around. Oh, it's money from the state. I pay taxes. Blah blah. You can do that all you want, but at the end of the day, some portion of what's feeding your kids comes out of my freaking pocket. And if it's my money, I get to dictate what you get to spend the money on. You don't get to buy sugary crap for your kids because I don't think it's good for you. And if my tax dollars have to then turn around and pay for your health care, you absolutely don't get to buy sugary crap that gives you diabetes. Go put the fork down and walk around outside so you don't friggin' screw me twice.
Not to mention that, and that's not even to begin to get on that the healthier raw food ingredients are cheaper overall than heavily processed food. You pay for every process that goes into that ho ho. You pay for every additional piece of process that goes into the frozen dinners. They are more expensive dollar to calorie and dollar to nutritional value than whole raw products.
I will just say sample size of one. I eat less when I eat better.
You do,
Like,
because the nutrition is there. Your body isn't starved for certain micro and macronutrients.
yep. Not to mention, I'm going to tell you right here now, if I had to pay for insulin every month on top of my food, it'd get expensive real fast.
Oh,
And that's
absolutely
what
would.
that's what I look forward to if I don't control my eating.
Mm-hmm. You know, the real shame is that instead of having any level of gratitude, it has completely gone away from that and become an entitlement.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about entitlement as in like Social Security where you paid into the Ponzi scheme your whole life and now you finally get to withdraw a little bit out and hope that maybe you might be able to get enough back that it was worth the investment. An entitlement in that these people feel as though they are owed it for existing, regardless of if they've ever done a second of work in their life. There was one lady in particular that came across my Instagram feed that one of the pages I follow was commenting on how ridiculous she is. She said she hasn't worked in 15 years and she ain't gonna work because she's got 5 babies from 5 different dads and they can't get any of them to pay child support because they don't make any money and they're all on benefits too. So now nobody's going to eat. And she's not going to work for free doing the 15 hours of community service a month, I think they were asking for some of the people that were, I would say, unwilling to work, not so much unable to work.
And point of order. It was if all of your children are school aged, you had to work 15 hours a week of community service. They're not even talking about like if you got like a little baby where you got to stay home with them. If all your kids are in school and you have ostensibly 6.5 to 8 hours in the middle of the day to do fuck all with, you got to go do community service, pick up trash on the side of the highway or something for the thousands of dollars you're getting in food assistance, rental assistance, and healthcare.
Yeah, and they called it working for free. She said, I ain't gonna work for free, was her exact phrase. Well, I don't know about you, Phil. Have you ever calculated how many hours you work for free after the tax money is all taken from you?
Oh, Nick, I calculated how many hours I work just to be able to afford to drive to work. Because, autism spectrum. But yeah, once you start figuring out how many hours you have to work to afford taxes, listen to me.
You're fine for being employed.
Every young person should be forced to experience what you experienced when you got your first on-paper job, where you walked into it thinking, $10 an hour, this many hours, I'm going to make this much money. And everyone should have that experience where you get your paycheck and you look at how much freaking theft takes place.
Yep.
Nothing will turn you into a libertarian faster than like the government screwing you without a reach around.
This is why I am very pro child labor. Because honestly, I think by the time, if you have gone your entire life up until your early 20s and never worked, and then you get and you get out of college and you take your first job, I think is a much different level of shock than a 13-year-old that's done, 10 to 13-year-old that's done mowing lawns, $25 a lawn, whatever, $20 a lawn. I forget what it was when I was doing it, and collecting the cash. And then a year later, you get a job and you see all that money stripped away and you didn't have any say in that at all. That shock factor is, I think, much more significant.
And
it really makes you think more at that point.
Can you imagine what young teenage Phil's reaction was when I had my first little bout of taxes withheld from me when I was 17 years old, and I literally...
I'm sure you were irate.
Oh, I wasn't just irate. I reached full-blown indignant because I literally sat there and I'm like, I am getting taxes withheld from my check, and I'm not legally old enough to vote for the policy that does this.
Taxation without representation.
This is literally taxation without representation.
It is. I actually am... I don't know that you should be able to lawfully tax minors. Now, for some of the things. For things like Social Security and Medicare, Medicaid, that kind of stuff, I understand that because they take a lifetime total of what you paid in, and that determines how much you're paid out and how many years you've paid in and all that. But I hate that program exists, but if it does, then the kids should get the benefit of paying into it earlier. But
Nick, have you ever thought to add up or estimate how much you're going to pay in Social Security over the course of your life?
I have a pretty good estimate, and I know that if I had been allowed to invest that myself, I would have squandered it. Number one, because I was a dumb kid. Let's be real. I would have squandered it.
But you should have been allowed to squander it.
Exactly. I should have been allowed to. But I figured it out from the time I started my retirement account to theoretical 65 and what it would have turned into had I invested in the market versus what it would have turned into, what it will have turned into giving it to the government. And it's on the orders of millions in losses. And I don't make that much money, Phil.
Yeah. Anyway.
I mean, I do okay, but That would have that amount in difference would have guaranteed an extraordinarily cushy retirement for my wife and I.
Probably would have guaranteed y'all could have retired early.
Probably would have been able to retire closer to the 50s.
But the government needs their wage
Early
slaves.
50s. They do. And you know, my parents try to justify Social Security to me in that I'm paying for my grandparents to be able to retire. Horseshit. One set of my grandparents were very successful business owners that sold that, and they are living just fine off of that money. My other grandparents were union members and paid into a pension for many years, and the one got horribly injured, and he is living off of the benefits of his job. So he is also living off of his personally accrued retirement. Yes, he does get paid some Social Security. It's a pittance compared to what the union gives him.
Mm-hmm. See, my ultimate argument every time Social Security gets brought up, and then I want to go back to Snap EBT because I have a thought.
Mm-hmm. Go for it.
But what I always fire back with whenever Social Security gets brought up is, I've heard this more. It's not an argument; it's a moral appeal. You're paying you're paying so that your parents and grandparents can live comfortably in their homes, and they don't get pushed out. Whatever. Mm-hmm. But two things. First of all, asshole Phil says my parents have and should have prepared adequately for their retirement so that they could live comfortably in their home until their dying day, which they can because my parents weren't morons.
Right. But everybody makes those choices.
But also, I'm a millennial. You're a millennial.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'll never see a dime of Social Security.
Not the point. Don't be even to the punchline. Who bought your first house? Did you buy your first house? Did you inherit it from your parents? Did your grandparents say, hey, you can live here, and when I die, the house is yours? Did any of that happen, or that's your house?
Nope. I bought and paid for it myself. So I did get a first-time homebuyer's grant to help with the down payment, but I didn't need it.
Okay. The first-time homebuyer's grant was not a chunk of money from your grandparents.
No.
So,
I think my grandparents did give me a housewarming gift, which paid for part of a new floor. And when I put down some laminate floor.
And understand,
which was very, very generous of them, I thought.
And I'm not dogging out anybody's parents or grandparents. I am only pointing out that this moral argument I continue to hear trotted out over and over and over, by the way, falls completely flat for millennials and Gen Zs because by the time we entered adulthood, there was no expectation of multi-generational housing. There was no expectation. Like the days where you live with mom and dad until you got married. Mom and dad let grandma and grandpa stay in the house. They inherited from their parents, by the way, and they lived their dying days there. And mom and dad, mom stayed home back when you could have only one working spouse and not two. Mom stayed home, took care of the grandparents. All that crap went out the window. And
it went out the window in the 1940s.
Well, I was going to say,
for the most part.
Well, it was definitely out the window by the 90s.
Well, you got to remember the GI boom and build.
Yeah, but the point
when everybody came back with all their back pay.
But I guess my point is that whole argument that you are somehow indebted to pay for your theoretical grandparents or that generation to stay in their houses to their through their retirement falls completely flat with me. Because ain't nobody helped me put this together except me and my wife. Yep. Little tiny bit of help from my parents. Like my dad bought me a lawnmower when I moved in here. Now, to be fair, he would have helped me out if I'd asked him to, but I didn't because I handle my own things.
Right.
But
it's expected of you to handle it yourself.
Yes, because that's who he raised. He raised a man to go out, make his own way, and struggle and save and do what he was supposed to do. So this idea that we should chain an entire generation of working poor to the retired just completely flies over the top of my head.
To the generation that had the largest booming economy for the longest time in their lives and rode the largest wealth creation that the world has ever seen to the top.
While simultaneously voting for one generation of
benefits for
politicians after
themselves.
another who devalued our currency so dramatically that it is worth a pittance of what it was 40, 50, 60 years ago.
Yep.
So yeah, forgive me if I'm no longer.
Since 1913, I believe it was, the dollar has been devalued 93%.
So forgive me if I'm not in a giving mood.
You know, I feel the same way about SNAP and EBT. Phil, are you familiar with the National Park Service's advice about wild animals?
As are most people on this show, I'm sure. Don't feed the animals because then they'll become dependent
on
it.
people. There is a certain point, I think, at which charity creates diminishing returns. And I think that needs to be assessed on a person-by-person basis. And what is the thing that government can't do? It cannot determine on a person-by-person basis
It's not designed to.
True need. No, it's not. And functionally it can't. Number one, it's too big. There's too many people. That won't work. It's not decentralized enough. But also, from a equivalency aspect, they have to apply the laws basically ideally in the same way for every single person.
But this is where Phil says we used to have a system before SNAP and EBT, and it worked very, very well at keeping people from starving. And
it also worked very well at getting people back into the workforce.
Yes, it did. What was that way, Nick?
Private charity.
Private charity. Usually family, a lot of church, sometimes your neighbors. But here was the one.
And sometimes it was local townships that were doing it too. There were, in large metro areas, there were workhouses, there were boarding houses for the working poor.
Yep.
Emphasis on working.
Raggle Fraggle is only about 10 seconds behind us, but that's because, there's a little bit of a delay between you typing and us seeing it. But no,
accurate.
But here's the thing. And this is the thing that I've preached over and over and over for years. And as a matter of fact, when my wife and I first got together, it was one of those many things I don't think I was able to articulate in a way that she could understand.
Sure.
So bear in mind that I grew up Catholic and left the Catholic Church in my early 20s, and Gillian grew up Southern Baptist Protestant. So we were already kind of at loggerheads with our perception of social ideas and religion when we met.
Sure.
But I always said, I'm one of the tenets of Catholicism and Christianity is you're supposed to give without an expectation of return. If you expect a return, you're not really giving in the spirit of giving.
Yeah, exactly.
But what I used to challenge people was, I don't expect a personal return, but I do expect a return of effort. If I'm going to give to you, then I expect you to take the thing I've given, the help, the aid, the gift, the food, the money, the resource, the whatever, and use it to springboard yourself to a better position. I expect you to not squander and waste my gift, my effort, my resource. And I certainly don't expect you to wallow in it and come back the next day with your hand back out. I expect you to take the thing I've given you and use it to not need my help again. Not because I mind giving it, but because I want you to be self-sufficient. I want you to do for yourself. I want you to dig yourself out of this hole. I want you to be in the same place I'm at, where I'm self-sufficient. I'm able to take care of myself. That's what I want for you. And I'm willing to help you get there. I'm not willing to give you crutches if your legs work. I'm not willing to teach.
There's no reason to.
But it's worse than that. What happens if you spend too much time sitting down and not enough time walking and working out and maintain your body? You atrophy, you get weaker.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to teach you how to be crippled. I won't give you crutches if you don't need them. I'm going to tell you, get up off your lazy ass and get your legs working and let's go. And if you're not willing to do that, then you sit there until you don't hike the way your legs feel anymore. But I'm not going to give you crutches if you can walk. Well, I look at SNAP, EBT, and I look at all social welfare in this way. If there was a way to ensure that a government program would give it only to the degree that the person receiving it is willing to use it to springboard themselves to a better version of themselves tomorrow, I would sign off on it. But I have no faith in the government's ability or will or want to do that. And it
No,
and at this
absolutely not.
point, the experiment has resulted in generational welfare. So very obviously, this whole thing doesn't work from a conceptual point of view.
Yeah, of course it doesn't work. I mean, when there is no social standard that you should be improving gradually, because these things aren't fixed overnight. When there's no enforcement of the need for you to improve, you won't.
But I think it's deeper than that. I think it is a
It's an
fundamental misunderstanding of what the point of social welfare is. Because like
Sure.
when you if you spend time in the halls of government, which unfortunately I am forced to sometimes,
Mm.
you hear the talking points from people who are involved with these programs, and it's a point of pride how many thousands or millions of people benefit from these programs. Like the
Hey,
goal is to get more people on the benefit because that's how I justify that I'm doing my job properly. Because
sure.
now I understand the misconception.
Mhm.
If your assumption is there's people out there who've fallen on hard times, and I have gotten them the benefit they need, therefore the number went up.
Fantastic.
But
Yeah.
in my opinion, that's a misconception.
Yeah, that's not what's actually happening.
The goal should be this many people came on rolls, this many people came off rolls. More people came off than went on. Unemployment's going down. People
More people came off and are now gainfully employed.
and self-sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why I say I think this program, and I think most social welfare programs were flawed from the outset.
Oh, they
They were
absolutely were.
flawed because whether or not they were created with altruistic intentions, they have turned
Well, let's be honest. They were created as part of the Great Society
to buy
program
votes.
to buy votes for a very particular party.
I'm allowing that perhaps, just perhaps, there's those people out there that like hadn't drank the Kool-Aid and they just thought, well, it sounds really good on paper. Because like
Oh, I'm sure there was at least a few.
bearing
I
in
mean, there are definitely politicians out there that think they're doing the right thing.
well, and bearing in mind where I live, and I'm sure you're in somewhat the same boat. I am
Mhm.
surrounded every day by like old school blue dog Democrats. Not
Man, there's not many of those in Illinois.
but what I'm saying is not woke, not morons, not identity politics, not closet communists, but like old school
Those have gotten very rare.
traditional Democrats. And admittedly, maybe there's more of them because I live in the deep South, close to New Orleans, where
Could be.
like that's not an inconsequential number of people. But I meet comparatively few crazy loony lefties down here. I meet lots of like social Democrats, and they tend to vote for these things they believe for the right reasons. Like
Sure.
we don't want kids to starve. We don't want mothers to not be able to feed their
Oh, I
kids.
agree.
And I totally get that. But I also
Mhm.
think you got sold a bill of goods because
Look,
this
it's like
program's not doing what it was intended to do. Well, it's not doing what you think it was intended to do.
it's like the conversation my wife and I had the other day about this exact topic about the EBT. I said, that the left does have a point. We need to care for the least successful people in society, because if you don't, you can end up at a problem where you've created an underclass that is going to create unrest and going to destabilize the system. Well, what happens when you give people absolutely everything? You get crack addict Hunter Biden.
Yep.
You get the child star that's doing cocaine everywhere and turns into a complete rampant degenerate.
You can
I mean,
you
that you get the exact same problem from the solution to the initial problem by over applying the solution.
so I'm sure you've heard the pejorative, you could take the girl out of the trailer park, but you can't take the trailer park out of the girl.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you, and this is not a popular sentiment amongst a lot of people, but there are two competing schools of thought here, and one of them is just frankly wrong. I said it, I'm going to say it again, wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But behavior is not always caused by social economic conditions.
Correct.
Maybe once in a blue moon I'll give it to you, but I'm going to tell you that I've met a lot of people throughout my years that had money hanging out of their ears, and they were just as big of a prick as when they were poor. They were just as trashy, just as low class. They were alcoholics and drunks and wife beaters and everything else. And they'd have been the exact same asshole in a broken down
What?
old Chevy, living in a trailer, if they didn't make six figures. They'd have been the exact same person.
To some extent, the more money you have, the more your poor behavior can be expressed because you have more opportunities to express it.
You're better able to insulate yourself from the consequences of those actions.
That too. Ragal is correct. They created a permanent underclass with this system. Yeah. And they did it to create a voting bloc that was tied to the system that had to support the people that were continuing the system.
Oh, I'll go one step further than a permanent underclass.
They created a slave class.
Exactly.
That was the idea.
Pre-Civil War in this country, we had a permanent underclass that was basically enslaved to keep the machine that was agriculture in this country running. Mm-hmm. And somewhere along the way, we got the bright idea that we could enslave people a lot easier, and you won't need guys on horseback with rifles to watch them if you just give them money to sit there. And for anybody that thinks I'm just completely out of touch, because, me, poor, dumb white man, I'm going to tell you that there are people out there right now who are talking about looting and raising hell and stealing stuff from stores and people because they're going to get what they're entitled to. I'm not entitled to anything I can't afford, and I afford things because I work for them. I earn them. I give my labor for resources. But there's a group of people out there that don't believe that. They believe that they exist, therefore the stuff should be theirs.
Yep. They exist, therefore society must care for them. Well, I am all for society caring for people that are trying to better themselves. I am.
Ragal was being diplomatic. I can't spell that word most days.
Yeah, diplomatic can be hard. I try to be diplomatic. It doesn't always work out. It often doesn't work out, especially if a cashier can't do math.
Ooh.
And doesn't know how to read an ID.
So not that I feel like I'm going to give any sage advice for the people that are on Snap and EBT and have been for a generation, and they're currently flipping their freaking lids because the orange man is taking away their money.
But he didn't.
But just in case you're...
Do you know who took away their money, Phil? Because the Republicans have been voting to fund this. All of them have. But we need 60 votes in the Senate to pass the budget.
The Republicans
do not have 60 delegates.
I am forced to admit that the Republicans have voted multiple times for a clean CR to keep the government open for a few weeks while they figure out this kerfuffle.
As shocking as that is, because let's be honest, I am shocked that it was as relatively clean as it was.
I mean, I'm not, because let's call it what it is. There are not many conservatives that are that conservative when it comes to fiscal policy. That's fair. You got Massey and Rand. And I think Massey was the only no vote.
Massey was, and I cannot remember why he said he voted no on it.
Because
I think it was because there was not enough cuts to certain spunding.
Because they weren't cutting crap.
Yeah.
I mean,
which they should.
Literally, they were just reverting back to pre-COVID spending, which Massey said, this is bullcrap.
Which pre-COVID spending would be great compared to what we have now.
Yes.
Not bad.
But to Massey,
yes, let's take it further if we can.
But to Massey's point, pre-COVID spending was still catastrophic.
Astronomical. Oh, yeah. We need to go back to pre-1980s government spending.
Yeah.
It would be great. Even inflation adjusted. That'd be fine. That would be a serious improvement.
But I will just say that, personally, I do think that there is a remedy for this kind of problem. And let short term. Let's not talk
getting a job.
No. Hold.
Because there's 42 million people looking for that are on SNAP benefits right now, and there's 70 million jobs that do not require a college degree that are open currently in the trades.
So let's table that for a moment.
Because that's still another 30 million extra jobs.
That's the good long-term solution. But in a more of a short-term solution, let's say you're not in the position. Let's say you do work, but you just don't make crap. And that's why you have SNAP EBT. Let's say you're in that pocket.
Hey, and there are people like that.
110%.
There are families that get into that position. I mean,
there are also people
whether it's through job loss, injury, illness, whatever.
There are also people that are quote unquote underemployed. Like, I
True.
used to have a good job. Now this is all I can find. I'm only working 15 hours a week because that's all my employer would give me. I'm looking for a better job. Like, there are people in that transitionary period.
There are. And that is completely different.
True. Here's what you should have done a while ago, though, because it's the same thing I do. Anybody comes to my house is welcome to walk through my house and look in my pantry, and I will show you where all the goodies are hidden. You should have more than 3 days of food in your mother effing house.
Yep.
If you have to go to the grocery store on November the 1st because you are literally running out of food in your house, you are doing it wrong. We've talked before on this show, me and him and Andrew, a while ago. No, Stuart, we're not starting over.
Jesus, Stuart, I'm not going to remember half of the things I said.
It was a really good episode, man. We can't reproduce this.
Nope. Got to do it live.
But anyway, so that bastard made me totally lose my train of thought. It was a really good win, too. Damn it.
We have, I think I know where you were going with this. We did that episode,
yes,
me and Andrew, not too long ago.
The three of us did an episode. We talked about how to prep for a single person for 2 weeks, wasn't it? And how
I believe it was 2 weeks for one person,
and how cheap it could be done. And I think either you or Andrew were the high water mark at $125 for 2 weeks of preps for a single person, and that was food and water.
I was, and fruit, vegetables, meat, water, and I think multivitamins I even included in there.
Yeah, I had the low water mark at like a couple of pennies over $100. And I mean, admittedly, it was like mostly like, canned meat, rice and beans and stuff like that. But I also went.
But it was also, the goal was it had to be shelf stable too.
Yes.
Now, if you have a refrigerator, you can do this even cheaper.
True.
Because you can buy a shitload of chicken thighs for like $12, and that's a lot. I mean, I don't know if you probably don't have Jewel Osco down by you, but you can get a 6-pound pack of chicken thighs for like $12 to $14 sometimes.
So
that's
so side note, I still have a couple of gallon Ziploc bags of chicken thighs in my freezer that I got for free.
Sweet.
Because over by one of my in-laws, a couple hours away, chicken cracklings are a big thing in that part of the state. So they buy chicken thighs just to strip the skin off to make chicken cracklings, and then they basically give away the skinless chicken thighs.
Oh, sweet!
So yeah,
free chicken.
She brought us a couple gallons of Ziploc bags full of it for $3.99, and I was like,
I mean,
you all go in the freezer
if you can get it. Exactly. I mean, why you wouldn't pass? I wouldn't pass that up.
Hell no, free chicken.
But
my point is,
gosh, I think last time we went to Sam's Club, a 10-pound bag of boneless, skinless chicken breasts was like $23 for 10 pounds.
Raggle knows where it's at. Raggle actually
are good.
Doesn't live too far from that area where I'm talking about.
Nice.
But yeah, man, I mean, to me, like, I can never come up with a good justification. You and I kind of had this conversation the other day. We were talking about something semi-related, but like, I have never found a person who can convince me I cannot afford to prep. I have never met that person. I have had people try to lay that on me, and I have ripped their finances apart right in front of them and proved to them, you have the money, you just don't want to prioritize it. And
there is a lot of misallocated spending in this country. There is.
The one thing I'm gonna say, you and I say it's misallocated.
Sure.
My point of view is very simple. People prioritize what's important to them. So,
and apparently what's important to them is not driving to get their own McDonald's.
Yes, and by all means, like if you tell me you cannot prep because like you smoke and you drink beer every day or whiskey and you DoorDash stuff all the time, like I'm going to tell you, you have the money to prep, you just have to prioritize it. And if you don't choose to prioritize it, that's fine. But when your SNAP card gets turned off, you starve. I'm just saying, like, this is all actions and consequences, but giving it to me, just give it to me. Everyone can afford to put aside a couple weeks of food for every member of your household. Everyone
now, if you're entirely unemployed and on SNAP benefits, you still can afford it.
You still can afford it. Dude,
that money we were looking at.
$300 a person for a month. That's, I feed a family of 3 really good food for $600 a month. So
yeah,
Easily done.
And probably quite a variety of food too.
Yeah. I mean, quite
Because you can,
frankly,
if you went to a meat, a grain, some kind of fruit or veg, you could probably cut that budget down quite a bit.
well, so to be fair, like recently, with everything that's going on in the world,
Mm-hmm.
Gilly and I had to have that check in about finances and like, hey,
Sure.
if your paycheck evaporated for a period of time,
Mm-hmm.
would we be okay? And I sat her down and said, look, we've got X amount in the emergency fund that equates to X number of months of like
Yeah.
bare minimum spending, pay the mortgage, pay Piper's tuition, pay the bills, and put gas in my tank so I can drive to and from the job I'm not getting paid to work at because reasons. Sounds like a violation of labor laws, but I'm not.
Sure does.
But
who are you going to sue? The people that enforce the labor laws? Good luck.
Yeah, let me tell you how many OSHA
We've
violations.
investigated ourselves and found there was no wrongdoing.
Let me tell you how many OSHA violations there are in most government buildings and why they're never going to get fixed. But I digress.
Oh God, no.
But and the thing I pointed out to her was, I'm like, look, we know we spend $600 a month on groceries. We could cut that down to almost nothing because we've got several months worth of food stocked up. I mean, admittedly, once we run through the stuff in the fridge and stuff in the pantry, we get into the deep storage. It's going to be a lot of rice and beans and canned vegetables and like canned meat. We're not going to be high living anymore. But once we get back,
but you'll be living.
We'll be eating. And I'm going to tell you what, once we get into that deep storage, Bubba, I've got powdered milk. I've got baking supplies. we could be in the middle of the apocalypse. I'm still going to be making brownies and stuff. Mm-hmm. We're going to eat. Yeah. So my point of view is like, if you're that person that says, I'm in this situation, SNAP EBT is getting held up because of the gridlock in Congress, no matter who you blame for it, my argument always is, what can you do to insulate yourself from this? And it's the same thing I tell everybody every single time. The reason why I advise people have a stockpile of food is so that you are semi-independent from the system that is the grocery store and just on time delivery. Mm-hmm. The reason why I advise you to have a stockpile of food is so that you are semi-independent of the system that is SNAP and EBT and the industrialized food delivery system.
Yeah, because you have an extra layer of dependency there.
Yep.
In that case, which means you need to insulate yourself even more than others would.
Yeah. And I mean, quite frankly, I've met people in this lifestyle who grew up literally dirt poor on dirt floors. Yep. And every one of them will tell you the things that I propose people do when it comes to like having food, having water, having those things put back on the shelf. That was just everyday life to them. They knew they were going to have periods where dad lost his job because he was drinking on the job, or, somebody's benefits got screwed up or something happened.
Or it was a seasonal job.
Yeah. They knew, but they grew up knowing there were going to be periods where like, okay, whatever we have in the house, that's all we have to eat for a couple of months. So yep. I don't feel like this should be a controversial recommendation to make. I will just say that like, it's been talked to death. It's been recommended to death. And all I'm going to say is, like, at the end of the day, you're making a decision to either live hand to mouth, dependent upon whatever you're dependent upon, or you're making a decision that when things don't go according to plan, I don't immediately fall upon hard times. And I personally don't want to have to look my wife and daughter in the eye and apologize because they have to go hungry.
Yeah, I won't do that.
No, there's going to be some neighborhood pets going missing if we get to that point, but there's going to be a whole lot of things get eaten before I have to go snipe the neighbor's chihuahua.
True.
Actually,
I mean,
sometimes
you do live near the bayou. There's plenty of swamp puppies you could eat.
Are you referring to alligators?
Yeah, swamp puppies.
I don't play with the dinosaurs, man.
Oh, it'll be fine. You just grab by the tail. I saw Steve Irwin do it.
Nick, I know you're being sarcastic.
I mean, there's a reason I live up here. Alligators are terrifying. I would not go into water with alligators.
Listen, bud. there ain't many animals I won't, just like walk around with total impunity. I'm not scared of much, but I don't play with the alligators.
No, some of them are pretty strong, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, they can sprint their own body length in, I forget, like 25 miles an hour or something crazy. Like they are,
very, very dangerous over short distances.
yes, Raggle, they are delicious. They're also extraordinarily angry and aggressive if you get too close to their nest. So,
They're an apex predator that has not changed since the Cretaceous period. There's a reason they're still here.
You should be very alarmed by any animal that hasn't evolved at all in millions of years, because it doesn't
Tortoises.
have to. It doesn't have
Tortoises. Nope. Turns out big armored and slow works.
Yeah.
Who'd have thought?
I was going to say, thank God they're herbivores, but then you get into alligator snapping turtles.
Yeah, fuck those things.
Yeah.
We have a lot of those around here.
I don't play with those things either.
When we used to go fishing out in the swamp behind my parents' place, every once in a while you'd step on a rock and the rock would take off. It was almost always an alligator snapper.
My wife has a point. We find rabbits in our front yard like literally every evening.
Not for long.
I've actually mentioned that like all the rabbits and the squirrels are constantly around our house. Like they might end up in a stew pot if times got hard, and she keeps telling me no because they're cute. But I'm pretty sure if she gets hungry enough, they won't be cute anymore.
Yeah, I made squirrel chili for my wife shortly after she moved in, and she didn't even notice. I told her later, and she was mad, but she liked the chili at the time.
Whoops. I'm not lying, Gillian. I have witnesses. I'm sure I have it recorded someplace. I have bugs all over the house to record conversations.
Mm-hmm. Gotta have those. Just prove yourself right now and then.
Well, to incriminate.
That too.
Okay, so is there anything else we can unpack here that might get us banned or scrubbed off of the social media and the internets because we dare to question the wonderful brilliance of our social welfare system?
I don't think that anything we've said, except for maybe my extreme favoritism for child labor, is that extreme.
Listen, Minecraft has shown us that the children lust for the mines.
They yearn for the mines. I mean, the happiest, most well-adjusted people I know, well, maybe not the most well-adjusted, the happiest, most successful people I know all started working at a very young age. So if that tells you anything.
I mean, I distinctly remember, God, how old was I? It was while we were living here in Louisiana. We moved here in 95. And I was done with it by the time I started high school. So it would have been 95, 96, maybe into 97. Yeah, every summer I was up and down my block hustling that little lawnmower. Mm-hmm. My dad told me I could use the family lawnmower as long as I kept up with the maintenance.
I had to put gas in it.
Well, too. That was included, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't realize how expensive gas was or how far the walk was to the gas station.
Oh.
But I did learn two interesting things. Dairy Queen is right next to the gas station, and Dairy Queen takes cash.
Excellent. But no, I mean, I wholeheartedly think that, I am willing to entertain an argument for a system that administers some kind of basic temporary assistance for people that are struggling to get them back up on their feet. I can accept that and understand the necessity for it. I just for once wish that the conversation would circle back around to this idea of like accountability for the people receiving the assistance. And back in the day, we used to have that because the person given the assistance had to kind of believe you were worthy of the assistance. But the minute we let government get involved in that decision making, that went out the freaking window at Mach 9. So now we are where we're at.
Yeah, I think Regal brings up a good point. Do we know of anything else of consequence ending on account of the shutdown, around this November 1st?
So not November.
I know there's more government employees that are going to be going without pay.
Yeah. So forgive me, but because a lot of y'all won't give a damn, but today's the 30th. Last weekend,
That would have been a pay week for the government, wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
so that was the first paycheck straight missed by federal employees. The one prior to that,
So like 2/3, wasn't it?
well, as of the 1st of October, the appropriations lapsed. So any work that a person would have been working from the first on, they missed out on that many days of pay. And for the audience that isn't aware, the majority of government employees are hourly employees. Like there's a misconception that they're salary. They're really not. It's the way the time system is built, but they are hourly employees. So missing out on a couple of days of pay means you're not on salary. You are absolutely missing out on pay. But as of last weekend, anybody that wasn't in exempt status is now missing pay. And next weekend, they're going to miss their second paycheck if people don't get their act right by then. The other thing that's happened in addition to the SNAP and EBT benefits, though, is, I mean, you probably are aware of this. There's any number of companies that literally their bread and butter is government contracts. And by the way,
and a lot of those are ending.
A lot of those are
paused.
A lot of them are paused because there's no money to appropriate. Therefore, there's no money to pay those contracts.
Or the deliverables stay, but you just don't get paid.
Yeah, and that's the dirty.
There are some manufacturing contracts for the military that, congrats, you must continue your deliverables or you'll be removed as a supplier, and you will continue until we reappropriate, and then you will get back pay.
Yeah,
maybe
theoretically.
Yeah,
but that's
unless the program gets cut.
But that's the more alarm. That's the ripple effect behind the government shutdown, though, is that it's going to impact. I mean, it's going to impact any major metro area that has a lot of government employees are going to see a dip from that eventually.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're going to see it at gas pumps, you're going to see it at grocery, you're going to see it at restaurants, you're going to see it everywhere that those people would normally spend money in and around that commuting area. You're going to see it touch government contracting firms. You're going to see it touch government suppliers. You're going to see those ripples.
A lot of research grants aren't getting paid out right now.
Yeah.
So a lot of the federally subsidized research and development stuff is not being done.
I think the estimate I saw, and I haven't looked far enough into it to know yet if I believe it 100% or not, but it was something like it costs the U.S. economy like $1 billion a day every day the economy is that the government is shut down.
Probably.
Now, on the one hand, that's alarming.
It's only $1 billion.
Well, it's only $1 billion, but it's $1 billion a day. But like on the one hand, it's kind of alarming that the government employs enough people and does enough things so that it's shutting down has $1 billion a day financial impact. But I don't know. The hard part for me when we get to this discussion is that, like, while I will happily admit that there are whole swaths of the federal government that probably shouldn't exist because they do stupid things.
Or nothing at all.
Or nothing at all.
Which is better than stupid things.
But there's also certain government functions that, like, most people, most middle-of-the-road centrists, even most conservatives, anybody but, like, hardline libertarians would say, we probably should fund that because that's kind of necessary. And there's a lot of, and even if you have those people that are working in that industry or that agency that you don't think should exist, it's still a crap ton of middle class jobs that are going to evaporate if that agency goes away. Like you probably heard the statistic before that, like the median government salary is like $88,000 a year.
Yeah, something like that.
You know how averages work, right? That's
the
middle of the bell curve.
There's a lot of people making an awful lot less than that.
Yeah,
there's a few people making a ton more,
and therein lies the problem. When you think about the number of GS, probably 14s, 15s, SESs, Congress is factored into that number, and that skews the statistic upwards pretty heavily. When you consider the fact that, like, some of these agencies like NIH that are technically NGOs, I've seen their salaries get factored in here some kind of crazy ass way. But it really comes down to the fact that, like, you know, your average person, if anybody's curious, Google, because these are federal employees, their salaries are literally public. They're public record. So you can go online and Google Office of Personnel Management GS-567. Those are mostly your entry-level employees. And look at how much they make with 1, 2, 3, up to about 7 to 10 years of service.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. There's a lot of people making not a lot of money who are going to be really dramatically impacted by the government shutting down.
Yep.
And I will be the first to admit, I have an emergency fund. I think it's a smart idea. I think you're kind of dumb if you don't have an emergency fund. But you would be shocked the number of people, especially people that have been in the government for a long time, that kind of came into it with this conception of like, it's government, it's stable, I don't need as much of an emergency fund. And then when something like this happens, they're flat-footed.
Well, to be fair, for a long time, government jobs were touted as exactly that. The infinite job that never goes away.
Yeah.
Because government never does.
And for this, by the same token, like there is, even though I understand that there's a misconception that like all government employees are horribly overpaid, like I can tell you that I personally know a lot of skill sets and a lot of people that work in the government that could easily make more working in the private sector.
No, they could, but then they'd be held accountable for results in a lot of cases.
And here's the trick of it. There's a lot of people that have worked in the private sector very successfully, came to the government, not because they didn't like the accountability, but because the work-life balance is better and you get a lot more time off, a lot more leave accrued, so on and so forth, better health benefits for people that are getting older. Like there's a lot of things in the public sector that lure people in. And what's the word I'm looking for? What's the phrase I'm looking for here? The incentive structure is very different from private sector.
True.
Very, very different.
True.
So there are people who do come to the public sector and they have that expectation of, I'm going to make less money, because especially for those who went private to public and had a pay cut, we've been there.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to throw around numbers, but like, I had to give up 30% of my salary to go from private to public sector.
That is a very significant change.
Yeah. I've made it up over time, but with given my skill set and my my years in, like if I'd stayed at any mid-sized company 12 years and applied myself the way I have, I'm confident I'd be making more money in the private sector anyway. I'd probably be working 60 hours a week like I did in the private sector, and that's why I'm not there anymore, because I like being home with my wife and kid.
Yeah.
But I digress. It's just, it's like I try to look at a lot of these issues, and I try not to take a hardline stance on a lot of them. I try to like see things from multiple perspectives, and that's the hard part about looking at the government shutdown from a dispassionate, even keel perspective. I totally understand the impulse of screw it, shut it down, never reopen it. I get it. I don't know if I agree 100%, but I get it.
There are some things the government does that needs doing.
100%. And just like the SNAP EBT discussion, I would love to have a conversation about what the government does and doesn't do that involves accountability for the people doing bad stuff. But I don't think government has any will or any want to have that conversation.
Oh, gosh, no.
Oh, gosh.
Why would they?
I know. Silly things like being accountable to taxpayers, man.
Mm-hmm. Would be nice. Oh, in case anyone was wondering, that whole being able to Google your public sector employees' pay, that applies to your state, county, and township level as well. Mm-hmm. Take a look at what some of your county employees are making. Some of them, it's atrociously disgusting.
I don't recall at the top of my head what the compensation was for our school board president, but when I found out, I kind of wanted to campaign against him.
If I remember correctly, last time I checked, not the school district we're in currently, but the one we were in before, it was approaching $400K.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a town of like 35,000 people now.
That's a nice little gig.
I'd love to know how they justify that. I don't pay taxes in that school zone anymore, or I probably would be finding out exactly how they justify that.
I mean, are you familiar with how government works?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet I could do a better job as a school board president for that kind of money.
But I hate to say it, but if you were electable before you joined me as co-host, you are unelectable now.
I wasn't electable then. I grew up in a small town. Everybody knew me.
Oh, okay. At least we're self-aware.
Oh yeah, dude. I had somewhat of a reputation for being a fun individual.
Fun individual. You did hood rat stuff.
Look,
That
either the statute of limitations has expired or there's no evidence. So have fun.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and punt this one out the door. We have gone on for an hour and 45 minutes. There's still 8 sociopaths watching, and I appreciate it. But if you wouldn't mind dropping us a
Mm-hmm.
like or a comment, share this with your friends. Duct tape your spouse to a chair and make them watch it. I'm not here to judge. Just spread the word because we are so shadow banned hell and back, and no one will take any of my money to promote the show or advertise. So the only way we reach people is if you tell other like-minded knuckleheads about it. And I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
All right. Matter of fact, it's going out the door. Bye, y'all. Stay out of trouble. Get into trouble. Get out of trouble. Do whatever y'all do. Talk to you in a week. Bye.
Night.